All right, good. So what's the difference between cosmetic surgery and plastic surgery, and is there a difference?
There is a difference. So cosmetic surgery is just to enhance your appearance. Plastic surgery or reconstructive surgery is where after cancer, an accident, or some kind of traumatic thing. So one is considered elective, meaning that you're just kind of doing it. It's not medically necessary, versus reconstructive, which is medically necessary. More
for structure than more for cosmetic reasons.
Exactly.
Do you do both, or you do just?
I do both.
Okay.
So most plastic surgeons, as opposed to cosmetic surgeons, do both. Cosmetic surgery is can be done by anybody with an MD degree. So your gynecologist can do it, your emergency room doctor, your ophthalmologist, and that's one of the biggest things that we try to emphasize to people is that training and education is quite different.
So my gynecologist, I could be like, while you're down there, can you fix my nose when you come back up?
Exactly.
Yeah? Really?
They can. They shouldn't, but they do.
So what is the kind of like schooling they need for that? Like,
unfortunately, they don't have to have much schooling. They can do a weekend course, weekend training, and then what happens is when
Are you guys hearing this? A weekend course?
When it gets botched, they will say, the news will say, a plastic surgeon did that, and oftentimes it's somebody who's not trained to do it, and they don't have the extensive education and certifications that real plastic surgeons have.
So let's get this straight. Someone could be my gynecologist, and that's all. They can take a weekend course.
Yes, my dentist does Botox in their office.
Okay.
And that came about like 5 years ago. That the state said it was legal to do that. So
this is the first time I've heard this.
Yeah.
That it's like that easy to become a plastic surgeon. Well, to say you're a plastic surgeon.
Yeah. Anybody can say they're a plastic surgeon, and there's no law against it. I can't call myself a brain surgeon by law because I don't have any training in brain surgery, but it's a long history, and we've been fighting this battle for quite a while.
Is that why there's so many botched procedures because of this?
There's a lot of it. A lot of it's just unrealistic expectations. Sometimes it's just the training of the doctor isn't up to snuff. It looks easy, right? If I watch a professional broadcaster like yourself, it looks easy. Oh, I could do that, but I can't read one of these teleprompters.
But how good can it be if you're taking a weekend course, though? And then what kind of stuff could someone like that do? Can they do it? Can they really, I was joking earlier, but could someone that says they're a plastic surgeon who took a weekend course, could that person then go and do a nose job?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's done all the time.
What other things could they do?
They can do it, breasts, they can do Brazilian butt lifts, they can do tummy tucks.
After 1 weekend?
1 weekend, yeah. Yeah.
This is like devastating right now.
There's only probably like 7,000 board-certified plastic surgeons in the country, but yet there are 5-6 times more other types of, quote, cosmetic surgeons. So most of the surgery being done nowadays is being done by cosmetic surgeons, not plastic surgeons.
Oh my, that's like a part-time gig, it seems like they're not really.
Yeah, especially when healthcare starts to go down, with all the different regulations, people start shifting into cosmetic surgery because it's cash. And it's not done.
Well,
through
plus the insurance is a lot. Is
it doesn't go through insurance at all.
Well, I'm saying like the insurance that doctors have to carry for like malpractice or whatever.
They still get covered by malpractice, unfortunately. One of the beefs I had against a physician used to run the doctor's company, which is our malpractice. I said, why do you offer these people coverage? And he said, well, by law we can't, and it's discrimination and things like that. So we've tried, after Kanye's mom died, we tried to put initiative in the state of California to say you have to put on display your credentials to do a plastic surgeon. You can't just say you're a plastic surgeon, and that got defeated.
Was that doctor a cosmetic surgeon or a plastic surgeon?
No, it turns out he was a real plastic surgeon.
Okay.
But he wasn't board certified.
So you tried to make some changes in the field.
We did,
and it got
rejected.
Why?
Because there are many more non-plastic surgeons than there are plastic surgeons.
So there's more shady people in the business than on the up and up.
You have a Senate hearing or some kind of congressional hearing, 50,000 people on the other side show up, maybe 1,000 real plastic surgeons show them. They don't know the difference. They're not,
You're the first person that's ever broken that down that I never would have thought that.
Yeah.
Or known that.
Most of my appearances on television is trying to educate the public about that.
Wow.
Because they just don't know.
So what inspired you to get into the field?
Well, I have 4 brothers, all of whom had asthma. So we were always in the emergency room when I was a kid, and so I always, like my doctor, our family doctor, and I always thought I was going to be a doctor. or I kind of knew I was going to be a doctor, but then I had an interest in art and things like that, and I saw an article in Ebony magazine. It featured 5 black plastic surgeons, and it said operating room artists, and it was like I had discovered gold.
Really?
I was like, what? You can practice medicine and practice art at the same time? I think I was like 12 years old. I called one of the doctors in the article.
Really?
He's a mentor of mine to this day.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Wow.
I was in Wisconsin. I called him here in LA. He was in Long Beach. And I just
And you were 12?
I was 12. I said, I'm going to do this. And, he didn't blow me off, which was good, because he just encouraged me, said, yep, here's, stay in school, do all these things. And then, like I said, I came out here to train, and then I met with him, and he's been my mentor ever since. So
at what age did you become a cosmetic surgeon?
Well, it takes a long time. So I was when I went into practice, it was about 35.
Okay.
So it's a long haul.
Wow. Okay.
General surgery, plastic surgery, and then sometimes you do some additional fellowships.
So I like that. So so you can do the general surgery when things go wrong, as opposed to the plastic surgery that get it the shady way.
Yeah, so the idea is that it's still surgery, okay? And even though it's cosmetic surgery, there's things that can go wrong. There's things that can happen to a patient that you have to be aware of, and that you have to be trained to take care of problems. And so it's never enough just to do a procedure and then never see the patient again. So some of these procedures, some people have what we call comorbid problems, diabetes, heart disease, and oftentimes there are people, young people, who this is the first time they've had a surgery since it's a cosmetic procedure. So you have to be prepared to deal with that. Wow.
Okay. Now, doctor, you're considered one of the foremost authorities on plastic surgery for African Americans and ethnic skin. Why is this important for physicians, but not only for the physicians, but also for the patients?
Yeah, it's interesting because our skin is different. So it's thicker, but it's more fragile.
So is that how we keloid?
That's how I keloid, exactly. And so that's one of the really interesting things in nature that happens. And a keloid is a scar that keeps growing. And in fact, if you don't treat it correctly, it can grow beyond the original scar. So it almost acts like a tumor in a sense, although it's not a malignant tumor. So being able to treat that, first of all, being able to prevent it, number one. Number two, and then being able to treat that successfully has been my practice in the last 25 years.
Is that something that the white doctors don't really focus on or know much
Well, they
about?
don't, and they're not comfortable treating it.
Really?
Because think about it, if I make a scar on you and it gets worse, that's a problem.
Yeah.
They just don't want to deal with it. And now that they're, when I came to town, people said, look, I don't want to deal with it. You go ahead and treat these patients.
So how important is it for patients to research and understand the risk of going under the knife? Because it seems like it's so common now.
Oh, it's very common. It's much more popular now. And to be honest with you, it's safer. And some of the procedures that we're doing are not, like I said, particularly in and of themselves dangerous. Anesthesia can be dangerous, but that's gotten better. We no longer now even have to put the tube in before, like if you had a heart surgery or gallbladder, it's now you just put it in the vein, like Michael Jackson had, that kind of, and once it's done, you wake up right away. So the technology's got better, it's safer, but oftentimes, like I said, people don't disclose their other health problems, or they may not know it. So surgery doesn't really kill anybody. It's the anesthesia, reacting to anesthesia, and things like that.
So do all your friends ask you for the hookup?
What do you mean hookup?
Like hook me up, like try to get discount surgery from you?
Yeah, I get the black tax,
Yeah.
hook me up. Yeah, I get that all the time. Yeah, like I said, it's comes with the territory.
Do you give a discount to your friends or maybe possible talk show hosts that put you on their show?
No, I charge my friends extra.
Really?
Because I know they're going to be a pain in the butt to deal with. But I do discount teachers, military, police, because they're serving our community, so that's our way of giving back.
Good for you. Look at you.
Yeah.
Well, I almost joined the Army in high school. Does that count? No? No? I'm trying, y'all. So what is your specialty? Like, what's the thing you think you're best at?
Well, again, I'm best at treating skin of color.
Okay.
So people who are really concerned about getting a scar or bad scar, that's what we do. For example, there are a lot of non-invasive things like lasers. we tend to not use because most of these are done or discovered and treated in white patients, and they don't necessarily translate to people of color. And so
we're still behind the 8 balls. It's another field in which we're still like, it's lacking the care for us.
It is. I mean, because of population, demand isn't there. For example, I don't treat a lot of wrinkles because my patients, like you're probably not going to get a wrinkle till you're in your 80s.
Or not.
Right? Or not.
If I can help it.
Yeah, but I would see another Caucasian patient in their 40s with wrinkles, and so it's just the demand is different.
Okay. So what are some of the questions that patients should ask when they're, looking to go through a procedure, get a procedure done?
Well, number one, board certification is, I think, a big one. Number two, are you comfortable treating people of color? And sometimes some surgeons will admit that they're not, if that's a concern you have. What type of anesthesia? Again, a lot of anesthesia is so different now than when I first started. Most people are not going deep sleep. It's a sort of a light, almost twilight. Yeah. So, and then of course, before and afters. The problem with before and afters is it's not you, and I don't like that. I'm not a fan of the computer imaging either, because again, it's a manipulated image, and it
shows them what they might look like.
What I do is I have them bring in pictures or show me on Instagram what's on their mind. Because I'm trying to figure out, if you want to look like Halle Berry, you're probably not going to look like Halle Berry. But I can point out features that that will come close, and I'll have an idea what's on your mind, because oftentimes people don't really know what they want.
What's the craziest thing someone's requested, or you're like, I can't do that?
I had a couple. One, I had a woman who was a piano player. She wanted me to, she's Asian, and she wanted me to increase the web space between her fingers so she could reach the keys easier.
Did you do it?
Of course not.
She wanted her fingers wider apart?
Yeah. Then I had one kid, and I thought it was a joke. He wanted his circumcision reversed.
He wants the skin back on.
Right. And I was like, yeah, right. I thought it was a joke, but no, seriously, there's a group that.
Why though? Wait a minute.
Well, because he said he didn't give consent to that. And so there's actually a group of people now going around who want to get their circumcision reversed.
So it's like a bring back our foreskin movement?
Yeah. I couldn't deal with it.
Okay, those are pretty wild. But there's some surgeries that we see, and I'm like, I can't believe a doctor okayed that. Like the cat lady, Jocelyn, what's her name?
Remember? Yeah. I met her actually at a party, and very, very striking.
Striking?
Yeah. Well,
striking for a cat?
Yeah. Well, I think the problem is, there's, in our specialty, there's a lot of emotional instability, and she represents that.
Yeah.
But the problem is, somebody will do it. So once she's decided she's going to do it, somebody will do it.
When we see these kind of surgeries, like we see these outrageous things, is there, a responsibility on the doctor to say?
I think so. I think it's an ethical responsibility, but like I said, we're dealing with the majority of plastic surgery that's practiced is by non-trained, non-board certified surgeons. So, and they're looking to make a quick buck, and they'll do it, as long as the check clears.
But that's scary as a potential patient going in to know that anything I ask for, I could probably get,
right? Even
at my own detriment, because you're willing to do it if you're, you don't have the integrity.
Right.
So it's placing a lot of trust in somebody.
It is. In fact, the motto for our practice is first comes trust, then comes beauty.
Okay.